Your dog's pulling on walks, jumping, biting on the leash, not wanting to walk, all those challenges you may be having with your dog when you're trying to walk them in your neighborhood or walk them in general. I know because I'm getting your calls. And as you know, I want to help you through this. I want to talk about why these behaviors are happening in the walks and share some tips to help you navigate walking your dog through the neighborhood because the more you understand, the better. So let's just jump right into some of these behaviors and what we're going to do to fix it, right? So, one of the behaviors that I'm hearing about with dogs on walks is the leash biting and jumping. Usually, this is most common, especially with younger, high energy puppies or dogs. So I'll see this with the young pups, like 6 months and under, and definitely with the dogs that have, high prey drives. So they're just really, really energetic. And the reason why they may do this because they may be excited, they may be frustrated, they may want attention. And so what they do is they start jumping up and mouthing on a leash and trying to get you to engage with them. And then I know it's frustrating because I hear about it. But one thing you want to do is you don't want to play into that behavior when they start nipping and biting on a leash. You want to ignore it at all costs, which means that you're going to stop that walk and you're going to wait till all four of those little paws are on the ground. And then you're going to continue your walk again. What you're teaching your pup or your dog is expectations like, hey, we can take this walk, but you're not going to be, chewing and things on a leash. Over time, your dog will learn that the walk doesn't happen. And, even if they do start to chew on a leash, you should see that it's not so much of a tug of war. They should stop immediately and continue to walk. But just remember, clear and consistent boundaries with that and rewarding them too when they're on the walk to keep them focused and engaged. Next one, your dog or younger dogs zigzagging on walks. I see this a lot with the younger dogs. This is very common with them weaving back and forth, you almost tripping over the leash. So this happens in two scenarios. A dog can be overstimulated and not getting enough exercise, and so when they get on those walks, they're like darting all over the place because they're so excited and their brain's like in overdrive, and so they can't focus on walking in a straight line. But also, it could just be simply caused because your dog hasn't been taught how to properly walk on a leash or a loose leash walking. And I see this more so with the younger pups and darting and going side to side because they never was taught, how to properly walk on a leash. And so this one I'm a big fan of how to fix it. Be sure to try to burn off excess energy before you take your dog on a walk. So I always talk about which your dog, how your dog is before the walk. Most likely, that's how they're going to be on a walk. So if your dog's already amped up in the house, most likely on that walk they're going to be amped up. If they're already calm and things of such, they most likely going to be calm. But just to rule out all that and just to ensure your walk will be better. If you have a fenced in yard, let them go back there and do some laps back and forth, do some fetch with them, tire them out as much as you can before the walk. And that will help them, with the zigzagging, but also teaching them loose leash walking skills. And I talk all about proper leash holding. That's another thing too. But generally, that's going to help as well. And also, that kind of goes with the last one, pups and dogs pulling on walks, right? That's very, very common with all dogs, young and older. One thing you can do in the interim, of course, you want to teach them loose leash walking skills, but make sure you're bringing treats out on a walk with you so you're rewarding them for staying closer to you. But also, you can use a front clip harness that clips in the chest area, and that's going to reduce the pulling a little bit. A little tip that I tell families that I work with, if you're going to grab a harness, don't get the ones that are mesh, right? Because most people do grab that. When you have the ones that are mesh, and if you're watching this and you have grabbed one, you're probably like, yep. What ends up happening is they go way over here and it makes it ineffective for the walk and they just end up pulling. But if you get like the Easy Walk brand or Pet Safe brand that's non-mesh, the clip stays right here and it reduces the pulling. The ones in the back, it just makes them want to pull more. And if you've been following me for a while, you know I'm a big fan of a long line, especially if the reason why a dog's pulling is because they just want to snip and engage. Using a lot longer line usually solves that problem. So keep that in mind. The final issue I want to cover here is dogs suddenly stopping on walks and refusing to go. This is most common in the younger puppies. I talk a lot about 4 to 5 months being a fear period where puppies are usually afraid of things they never were afraid of or start becoming fearful. And that's when you'll see most of the time the dogs stopping on walks. Older dogs, you may see in general because they're just fearful or scared or afraid of something. But definitely, I see this most common in the younger puppies when, coming into your home and like, they're like, my dog's not really walking. What's going on? I'm like, how old is your dog? They're like, 5, 6 months. Most likely they're in the fear stage. But again, for the older dogs, it could be something else. I always say during this time, you never want to force your dog to go any further on a walk if they don't want to. First thing you want to do is use a treat to see if that will encourage them to walk. If they don't want to walk, even when you encourage them to, with a treat, turn right back around and go home or get in your car from where you are. Because what you're doing in that moment is you're building trust with your dog, and they're trusting you that when they're in that fearful moment, that you're going to turn back around. If you're in your neighborhood and this is happening, what I tell folks is when you turn back around over time, your dog will walk a little bit further because they trust that you have their back. So definitely keeping an eye out for your dog's reactions, and not forcing them to work any further. So those are the top challenges I know you're having with your dogs on a walk. I hope this helps you. I hope this answers some questions for you and give you some answers to how to navigate walks. Other than that, if you have any questions, you can always comment below. But I will see you next week with another great topic. Bye.